Some empires rise slowly, built stone by stone over centuries. Valyria did not. It rose in fire. And in fire, it died. For nearly 1,000 years, the Valyrian Freehold ruled with power unmatched, dragons in the sky, sorcery in their veins, and steel no other smith could forge. They enslaved nations, toppled kingdoms, and carved roads of black stone that still stand today. To the world, they seemed eternal. And then, in a single day, they were gone. The ground split. Mountains exploded. Seas boiled. Cities 1,000 years old were reduced to ash. The dragon lords who had once bent the world to their will perished with their beasts, their spells, their secrets. What remained was ruin, a smoking wasteland no sailor dares to cross, and a mystery no scholar has ever solved. Some call it a natural disaster, others a curse. A few whisper of sorcery turned against its masters. Whatever the truth, the Doom of Valyria was not just an ending. It was a turning point. Without it, there would be no Targaryens in Westeros, no Iron Throne, no Game of Thrones at all. This is the story of Valyria's rise, its fall, and the doom that still haunts the world. Long before its name inspired fear, Valyria was little more than a peninsula of shepherds and miners. The land was harsh. Mountains belched smoke. The ground trembled. Rivers of molten rock carved through valleys. To most, it was a wasteland. But within that fire lived creatures unlike any other. Dragons. Where others saw monsters, the Valyrians saw power. Legends say the first of their kind learned to tame the beasts with blood and spell, binding rider and dragon as one. Whether the knowledge came from ancient peoples of Ashai or from the fires of the volcanoes themselves, none can say. But once the bond was forged, the world was never the same. From shepherds, they became conquerors. Villages turned to cities, cities to fortresses. With dragons, the Valyrian Freehold expanded quickly, swallowing neighboring lands. The Giscari Empire, old, proud, and seemingly eternal, fell in flames. Its pyramids cracked and blackened by dragonfire. At the heart of this new power stood not one king, but many. The Freehold was ruled by great houses of dragon lords, each commanding its own beasts, armies, and magics. Together they formed a republic of fire, bound less by unity than by shared ambition. Their conquests brought slaves, treasure, and knowledge. Roads of fused stone connected their cities. Sorcery shaped stone and steel alike. Most prized of all were the blades of Valyrian steel. Sharp, unbreakable, and forever bound to their lost secrets. The Rise of Valyria seemed unstoppable. From a forgotten peninsula, they stretched across Essos, their banners carried on wings of fire, and in their triumph, they began to believe themselves invincible. By the height of its glory, Valyria was more than an empire. It was the beating heart of the known world. From the Jade Sea to the Narrow Sea, its influence stretched unbroken, carried on dragon wings and sealed in fire. The Freehold's might rested on two pillars, sorcery and dragons. With them, no enemy could stand. The proud Giscari lay in ruins. The Rhoynar, masters of rivers and water magic, were scattered across the world after their defeat. Even the greatest cities of Essos bent knee or burned. Valyrian culture reflected their power. Their cities shone with towers of fused stone, roads as black and unyielding as iron. They carved mountains and split rivers with the ease of artisans working clay. Their magisters claimed mastery not only over earth and flame, but over life itself, breeding lines of dragons, twisting steel into blades that never dulled, never broke. The Freehold itself was no monarchy. It was ruled by 1,000 Dragonlord families, each vying for influence within the Great Council. Rivalries simmered, yet their ambition was shared. Conquest, expansion, dominion. Beneath their rule, Essos was reshaped, its peoples enslaved, its cultures absorbed. To outsiders, Valyria seemed eternal. Its fleets ruled the seas, its dragons the skies, its sorcery the very bones of the earth. No rival remained who could challenge them. The Freehold had become a god among nations, vast, immortal, invincible. But in their triumph, they forgot one truth. Nothing forged by fire can burn forever. And in the shadows of their glory, the earth beneath them was waiting. It happened in a single day. One morning, the Freehold still stood, dragons circling its towers, legions marching its black roads, magisters weaving their spells. By nightfall, it was gone. The doom began with fire beneath the earth. The volcanoes that crowned the Valyrian peninsula erupted as one. Mountains split, rivers of molten rock swallowed cities, and the sky itself turned black with ash. The seas boiled, ships burned at anchor, and storms of fire raged across the land. Entire cities, proud for 1,000 years, vanished in hours. The Dragonlords, their families, their secrets, all perished. Their beasts screamed as they fell from the skies, wings torn by fire and ash. Valyria itself became a ruin, a wasteland of smoking stone and shattered coasts. Where once there had been the heart of an empire, there was only the smoking sea, mists that choke, waters that swallow, and ruins no sailor dares to cross. But what caused the doom? That question lingers like smoke. Some say it was natural. Valyria was a land of fire, and fire eventually consumes all. A chain of volcanic eruptions, nothing more, nothing less. Arrogant dragonlords undone by the land they thought they commanded. Others whisper of sorcery gone wrong. The Valyrians meddled with blood, fire, and beasts. Perhaps they sought greater power, a ritual too dangerous even for them. Perhaps in their hunger, they broke the very earth. There are darker tales still. Of civil war among the Dragonlords, their spells clashing until the land itself tore apart. Or sabotage by hidden enemies, striking in ways armies never could. And then there is judgment, that the gods themselves ended Valyria, punishing its cruelty, its slavery, its hubris. For what empire, no matter how great, can enslave half a world and not invite wrath? The truth has never been found. The smoking sea hides it well. Expeditions vanish, sailors speak of ghosts and shadows, and no one who goes too deep ever returns. What is certain is this: in a single day, the greatest empire the world had ever known ceased to exist. 1,000 years of power burned away, leaving only ruins, relics, and fear. And yet, from the ashes of the doom, one family remained, far to the west, on a lonely island of black stone called Dragonstone. The Targaryens. When Valyria burned, nearly every Dragonlord perished with it. Their towers, their secrets, their bloodlines, all vanished in fire and ash. But one house stood apart, spared not by strength, but by foresight: the Targaryens. A century before the Doom, a maiden named Diana began to dream. Her visions were filled with fire and ruin, towers collapsing, dragons screaming, the very earth splitting open. She warned her father, Lord Eonar Targaryen, that Valyria would fall. Unlike most who dismissed prophecy as folly, Eonar believed her. He abandoned the Freehold. He sold his holdings, gathered his household, and sailed west. His destination: Dragonstone, a volcanic island in the narrow sea, bleak and far from Valyria's glittering heart. To others, his flight seemed cowardice, a surrender of glory. But when the Doom came, Eonar's gamble saved his house. While the dragon lords of Valyria were consumed, the Targaryens endured. They brought with them not only their bloodline, but their dragons. Creatures that had made the Freehold invincible, now carried across the sea to an isolated stronghold. They were not entirely alone. The Valyrians, masters of ships, and the Celtigars of Claw Isle also traced their heritage to Valyria. Yet none of them had dragons. None bore the same destiny. On Dragonstone, the Targaryens lived as exiles, the last flicker of a world that no longer existed. They kept the language, the customs, the fire in their blood, but they were no longer one family among 1,000 dragon lords. They were unique. They were alone. Centuries later, when Aegon Targaryen looked westward to Westeros, it was the Doom that had made conquest possible. Without the fall of Valyria, the Targaryens would have been just another house. With it, they were the last of their kind, heirs to an empire reduced to ash and destined to forge a new one in its place. The fall of Valyria did not simply erase an empire. It reshaped the world. In the east, colonies that had once bent knee to the Dragon Lords suddenly found themselves free and leaderless. Into that vacuum rushed ambition. Volantis, greatest of the colonies, sought to claim Valyria's mantle. Its nobles dreamed of empire, raising armies and declaring themselves heirs to the Freehold. For a time, they came close, but without dragons, their legions were mortal. Rivals rose, and Volantis's dream of a new Valyria crumbled. Other cities forged their own destinies. Lys, Tyrosh, Pentos, each carved out dominion, trading and warring in turn. The once unified East fractured into a patchwork of free cities, their rivalries echoing the broken shards of the Freehold. And then there was Braavos. Founded by runaway slaves, hidden for centuries behind fog and secrecy, Braavos revealed itself after the Doom. In a world without Valyria, it grew bold. Its fleets commanded the seas, its banks lent gold to kings, and its assassins whispered fear into the ears of rulers. From rebellion, Braavos rose as a power none could ignore. Beyond politics, the loss was deeper. Valyria's sorcery vanished. No smith could forge Valyrian steel anew. The few surviving blades became priceless relics. Dragons themselves dwindled to a handful in Targaryen hands. The world felt smaller, emptier, as if some fire at its heart had been extinguished. Even the land bore the scar. The smoking sea churned with noxious mists, broken isles, and whispers of monsters. Sailors spoke of ghostly ruins and voices that drove men mad. Few dared to enter, and fewer still returned. The Doom had ended Valyria, but its shadow stretched across every shore. The world after was not merely different. It was defined by what had been lost. The Doom left the world with ruins, relics, and questions. No one knows for certain what destroyed Valyria. And in that uncertainty, countless theories have taken root. The most straightforward explanation is nature itself. The Valyrian Peninsula sat atop a chain of volcanoes, restless and unstable. Perhaps the Freehold's fall was inevitable, a natural eruption, magnified by the scale of the land. In this view, the Dragon Lords were not punished by gods or magic, but by the earth they thought they ruled. Yet many dismiss that as too simple. Valyria was no ordinary realm. Its people shaped stone with fire, bent steel into unbreakable swords, and bred dragons as others breed horses. Could such a people truly be undone by accident? That doubt fuels darker theories. Some claim the Valyrians experimented with sorcery too dangerous to master, rituals to bind greater dragons or even to control death itself. In their arrogance, they may have torn open the world's foundations. Others imagine civil war, a struggle among the Dragonlord families, their spells clashing, their beasts colliding, until the land itself split apart. If true, the doom was not nature's fury, but mankind's. And then there is judgment, that the gods themselves struck down Valyria for its cruelty, its slavery, its endless hunger for dominion. To many, the doom is not disaster, but punishment, the cleansing fire that pride had earned. For readers, Valyria is more than history. It is myth, a mirror of Atlantis, a tale of hubris consumed by flame. It warns of power unrestrained, of empires too proud to last. And for the Targaryens, it is a shadow over their destiny. If Valyria could fall, so could they. Perhaps the truth will never be known. The smoking sea keeps its secrets well, and sometimes a mystery endures not because it cannot be solved, but because it should not be. The Doom of Valyria was more than the death of an empire. It was the turning of an age. From its ashes rose a new world. The free cities fought and schemed in the vacuum left behind. Braavos grew into a titan of trade, coin, and shadow. Westeros, once ignored by the Dragon Lords, became the stage for conquest. And on Dragonstone, one family waited, the last Dragon Lords, spared by prophecy, destined to carve their own dominion. Without the Doom, there would have been no Aegon's Conquest, no Iron Throne, no Game of Thrones as we know it. Yet Valyria's legacy lingers not only in politics, but in myth. Each Valyrian steel blade still carried into battle is a fragment of that lost empire. Each dragon born to Targaryen blood is a living reminder of a people who once bent the world to their will. And each whisper of the smoking sea, each tale of ghostly ruins, keeps the Doom alive in fear and wonder. In truth, the Doom is both an ending and a beginning. It warns of arrogance consumed by flame, and it marks the birth of stories still unfolding centuries later. The shadow of Valyria hangs over every war, every prophecy, every dream of fire and blood. Some say history is written in stone. Valyria's proves it can also be written in ash. If you've enjoyed walking through the ruins of Valyria's past, join me again for more hidden histories and forgotten tales. Subscribe, leave a like, and step once more into the Lorekeeper's library, where even the ashes still speak.